So I think what's really important is to make them feel included and help them along the journey.
Leadership is not the domain of privilege or pedigree.
But when a woman leader comes, not only she works as a role model, but she also promotes more women around her.
So the Better India has spent years spotlighting and searching out these change makers. You've seen these women empower their communities, transforming lives across the board. How do you see their role in shaping India's development story?
Thank you so much for having me on this panel, Sanchari, and it's an honor to be here and to speak about something so close to my heart, right? It's over the last 17 years at the Better India, we've had the privilege to showcase stories of incredible women across the country. And there's something that has stood out clearly for us. Over these years, we've seen the narrative have a very positive shift. You know, initially, over many years, women were always considered or portrayed as the receivers of change. Today, after the thousands of stories that we have covered, we see them as what they truly are, the architects of change. You know, we are seeing this huge narrative. I mean, when you think of women in rural India and you see them building simple life-saving healthcare solutions, or you see tribal women becoming entrepreneurs, building businesses against all odds.
Yeah.
Now, these are not just stories. They're the seeds of a movement, right? And when we look at, what's most powerful about women's leadership is that it's never just about economic change. You know, women don't just earn and create jobs. They invest in the future. You know, they invest in healthcare, they invest in education, they invest in building resilience in their communities, you know, and that's what's truly exceptional about women leaders. A woman never rises by herself. She'll take her family along, she'll take her communities along, right? She'll probably carry an entire generation along. And so that's what, you know, I believe the role of women change makers in India's development story is not just a small role that they play, but really that they shape the entire future of India's development. They are the seeds, they are the harbingers of change. I believe that's a very important role to play.
That truly is. Thank you so much, Anu, for sharing that. Ma'am, I'll come to you next. So the data has revealed that equal participation by women-led enterprises would add an additional $770 billion to India's GDP by 2025. Why do you think corporates should look at women leadership not just as a diversity agenda, but as a competitive advantage?
Gender diversity in corporates is not about moral imperative or a gender diversity play. It's actually fundamental to competitive advantage in business.
Yes.
Right? So corporates are starting to think in that way.
Yeah.
There's enough evidence, there's enough studies being done, and I'm not saying it, you know, every university in the world, every research organization in the world is saying it, that companies and corporates who actually invest in women leadership are better at innovation, are better at financial results. So at the end of the day, if your financial results and your innovation, you're better at product finance, i.e., because let's understand why. The fact is, more than half of the decision makers for any product, you suddenly leave them out of the leadership in the decision making process, you're not going to get an optimal presence in the market or your optimal products. And so really, leadership being reflective of the market and the need is pretty critical. Also, it's been proven that women can run, to Anuradha's point, they run culturally more inclusive teams. They build more high-performing teams only because they believe in taking everybody along. So it's not just me, I'm going to take my whole village along, I'm going to take my whole team along in a proper sense, right? So from a leadership style and from a cultural building high-performing teams, women are again really critical to what corporations can get as a benefit. I mean, at Optum, we have, and again, gender is only one element of this, right? It's what I mean by that is corporates need to give the right platforms for women to thrive and grow into leadership fields. So at Optum, we have, on one side, we have a lot of support and policy things like, maternity for like Cloud9 Beyond. But on the other hand, we have resource groups called Women League, which actually help and support corporate women with mentoring, with opportunities of training and development. And then we also have emerging leadership opportunities, cohorts. The other interesting thing is when women have cohorts, they really develop their networks and support systems. At least give them an opportunity to do that, because quite often in corporate, sometimes you may feel a bit lonely as you keep going up. Right? So you need people to support. So I think overall, corporates will unlock financial potential, addition to GDP, and some unique business opportunities. They actually invest in women's leadership.
Actually, that brings me just to my next question, ma'am, especially because we're talking about policy frameworks that would help unlock this potential in women, right? So UN Women does a lot of work, especially in framing policies that help in, unlocking this policy, whether it's safer workplaces, whether it's equal pay, ma'am. So what, according to you, is the most critical and urgent policy shift we need today so that India can unlock women leadership at scale?
I think it is just as they say in a country, political will. Within the private sector, I think the political will is what it is required. And I think that's where we have been missing. It requires investment, a lot of it, because you need a certain cadre of women which can read the dumb. Perhaps you. And the workplace has to be safe for women, and safe in a sense that within the environment, they have to feel safe to raise their voice, to voice their concerns. Also to say that they have the potential. Because generally what we see in that women are hired on the basis of their performance. And men are hired on the basis of their potential. That's true. Right. And it starts from there. As Zuma was saying that when they join, there's a period of purport. About, you say in IT sector, about 40% women join at the entry level. But as they grow in the surface, probably the numbers start going down. That's true. I think the system works slightly differently for men and women. Women have some disadvantage in that sense that they can't spend so much time after office hours in the work, and that's where the networking happens. And I think men are good at that. They utilize that time to also build their own. But then a one leader comes, not only she works as a role model, but she also promotes all women around. We also see that in public spaces. A woman leader rally is mostly, you can see more women around her. Because they feel safe around her. And we should never undermine safety. It could be psychological safety, it could be emotional safety, it could also be physical safety. And most of the chances are, and most of the cases are that women don't feel safe at all 3 cases. That's how it's very important to have more women in leadership to make that workplace safe for other women. That's really the requirement. But more importantly, I think it requires investment and a huge political will from the leadership with the companies to bring in more women at that level. Within UN, the Secretary General was very clear when he joined that he wants to have parity in the leadership. And in 4 years, he has been able to bring 50% leaders across agencies. And I think it is one of the first few agencies in the world that could claim that they have brought huge power.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing that.